Palestinian just died serving a life sentence in Israeli prison. He had very bad cancer. He's being celebrated as a folk hero. He's being put into books. They're making videos about him. His crime was he kidnapped an Israeli some years ago, cut his eyes out while he was alive, stabbed him repeatedly, and after 2 days of torture, executed him. And to the Palestinians, he's a hero and a martyr, and he's now going to have a statue of him, not to mentioned in all the Palestinian books. I have got a story for you that's hard to believe. As we know, the Palestinian Authority is a murderous terrorist organization that president after president has tried to rein in. And the only one that was successful was Donald J. Trump, when he said in the Oval Office to President Abbas, either you cut off pay for slay or I'm cutting off the checkbook. And Abbas put out his hand and promised, went back to the Palestinian Authority, made a speech the next day in Arabic, ha, 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 I'm not cutting off the money. And Trump goes, okay, I am. And he did it the next day. Good on you, Donald J. Trump. Well, that's just the background. There's a guy that was in prison in Israel, a Palestinian named Walid Daka. He died of cancer last week. He was serving a life sentence. Let me tell you what he did. He kidnapped a guy, cut his eyes out, stabbed him repeatedly, and finally executed him after 2 or 3 days of torture that was publicized throughout the Palestinian Authority. It was horrendous torture of this Israeli that this guy personally tortured. He should have been sentenced to death, except Israel doesn't have a death penalty, so they gave him life in prison. And they've been treating him for cancer for years. And the cancer doctors in Israel are like the best in the world.
Wait a minute. I didn't know that. Israel don't have the death penalty?
No.
But all the other nations around them, they do.
Oh, they don't even have trials and they have the death penalty.
I didn't even know. So wait a minute. This is like confusing to me, Barry. Because they're constantly, I'm sorry to break in on you here, but it's confusing to me because they're constantly saying that Israel's committing genocide, but they don't have the death penalty. How does that work? Make that make sense.
Well, they should have the death penalty, especially after October 7th. For the and the brutality. This isn't murder. This is murder, torture, kidnapping, the most horrific crimes against humanity. And now the Palestinian Authority is saying that he is a martyr and a hero, and they're going to have all kinds of celebrations for his life. He died as a martyr, and he was executed by medical neglect. Now, keep in mind, there's no cancer treatment in the Palestinian Authority. The Israeli doctors were treating him for years to keep him alive. It's like Yahya Sinwar, the head of the Hamas, when he was in prison, he was treated by Israel, and his family was treated by Israel. And then they let him out, and he thanked Israel by slaughtering thousands.
So thank you for keeping me alive all of this time. Thank you for all of the free medical care. Thank you for feeding me every day. Thank you for making sure that I was safe. Thank you so much. Get released and then turn around and do horrible acts against the people that were helping him. There's something really inherently wrong with the thinking of these people, Barry. There's something really wrong here.
They published that he was being tortured because they transported him from the prison to the hospital in a prison vehicle that didn't have sufficient padding on the seat.
Oh, that was the torture?
Yes, I'm reading it.
So his bum was hurt. So that was the torture. His bum needed some cushion. I need cushion for my bum, or we're going to call this torture. When really, again, this is like terrible. What they did, they weaponized rape, and they're saying that his bum, because it wasn't cushioned enough, that's torture. But they weaponize rape. I mean, come on.
You understand it. You got it.
There's something wrong here. There's something wrong with this picture.
Well, listen, they said that the glorious heritage of Walid Daka needs to be written down and turned into instructional material for schools, training institutes, universities, and the cinema. His acts of heroism must be studied. He's a giant of endurance, a leader, and an intellectual. He cut the eyes out of a living guy, a Jew, then stabbed him repeatedly, and 2 days later executed him. And he's a martyr and a hero all over the Palestinian movement. Just want to make sure
and Israel doesn't.
You got the facts.
And Israel doesn't have the death penalty for these monsters.
Boy, they should.
Oh my goodness. You know what, Barry? I'm not a violent person, but you know, when you're doing stuff like this, just monsters, sometimes you kind of need to get them off the planet. You know, understand what I'm saying? You got to get them off the planet.
They let them out of jail, and then they just go back to killing. The United States did the same thing. We let these guys out of Guantanamo. We send them back to Afghanistan or Iraq. So what do? They plant IEDs and blow up Americans on the side of the road, and they brag about it.
Yep.
We're the same. We're just as stupid.
Oh yeah. It really, truly,
unreal. And
now they're not even sending them back overseas. They're just, they're coming to our southern border and they're just letting them into the country.
Oh, yeah.
They have what's the phrase for them? Sleeper cells.
No kidding.